at the Gardens at Heather Farms. Welcome, Rebecca. This venue was voted the best wedding venue in the Wellness Week magazine. She manages facilities and operations as a venue manager, and this is a pretty cool fun fact that I'm definitely digging into a little later. Since she took over the special events program, there's been a 60% increase in her revenue. Let's welcome Rebecca. Okay, and our last panelist, just because we couldn't have no man in the front, Yotam Soen. He's the general manager and head of products at Wedding Spot. He's been building products for 15 years, and at Wedding Spot, he's leading it to modernize and bring transparency to the wedding venue discovery and booking process. Let's welcome Yotam. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is I'll ask a few questions, and then we'll open it to questions from the audience. Does that sound good? Wait. All right. Question number one is for Kayla. Coming from a career in marketing and then starting your own business, what are some of the learnings that you bring from that career into business? And what are some of the things that did work and some of the things that you should not have done?
Sure. Well, most of what I think I brought into the wedding industry and as a planner is actually the project management skills, especially helpful as a designer, which is all very creative. And I think a lot of times us creatives lack those skills. So I actually tend to be extremely type A in many ways. And a lot of that I learned from working in that corporate environment. So I apply a lot of that. Which has helped a lot and helped separate me in my field. I'm trying to think what hasn't worked. I feel like that was extremely beneficial to, I guess what I could say is just coming from that, I found myself initially leaning on that sort of, oh, I'm really organized, and that's how I sort of sold myself when I first started because it seemed a little bit easier and designing is much more subjective. So it took me a few years to build that confidence to actually lead with being a designer. So maybe that was kind of the sort of thing that didn't work for me that I had to build that confidence to get to.
Thank you so much. So since we're on that topic, can you walk us through what the design process looks like for you?
Yeah. So first, there's 3 things that I definitely need to start. The couple, because everyone's different, and that's the source of all the inspiration. And then venue and date. Venue and date, just posing different either challenges or opportunities that do inspire a lot of the design. So once I have those 3 things, then I kick off everything with a mood board. And that is a process that it can vary depending on the client, but I do allow myself to take time with it. I call it going down the rabbit hole. There's times that I'm up until 4 in the morning allowing myself to do that, but it's kind of where, you have that aha moment. So once the mood board is done, I don't really kick off any sort of execution until that's approved. And it includes the color palette. So once that's approved, then I can get started on execution with vendors. And the time frame that takes really just depends on the time I'm given. So, I mean, if I left to my own devices, I could probably design a wedding in a couple months and have it ready to go. But you have clients that are weighing options and making decisions and tend to be indecisive sometimes. So that's what really takes a long time. But then we just go in vendor by vendor and design the rest of the wedding. So, and then at the very end, I always do kind of a overall check, because you might have other ideas that pop up along the way based on where things have ended up.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Thank you. I can't believe you know it all by memory, but I guess I'm doing it. Okay, Barbara. Brownstone is a super popular venue. You do a lot and you manage a lot of leads. That would drive anyone crazy, but you're super calm. So can you tell us a little bit more about your process for managing these leads and also making sure that everyone has a phenomenal experience I stopped the Yelp reviews and wow, I mean, every single one is 5 stars.
Thank you. We do work hard at that. And that's probably the most important part of doing a wedding is making sure when they walk out the door, they say, wow, I had the most amazing night of my life. Okay? That's what we strive for at Brownstone Gardens. Leads, if you didn't have leads, you're not having business. So your leads are probably the most important aspect of the business. Our philosophy on that is that all leads must be responded to within a couple hours of being received. So that means usually at 9 o'clock at night before I go to bed, I'm clearing the info email again, okay? Even just to acknowledge, yes, I got your email, I'll answer you tomorrow, because let's face it, the millennials are 24/7, okay? A lead comes in, sometimes it has a date, sometimes it doesn't. I think most of us know we're seeing 2019s and 2020 couples. I've already started seeing some 2021 couples raise their heads. So you need to be prepared. You answer their question. If they don't have a date, make sure you get a date. I find we have a template that we send back out to them if they give us the date, but I always like to have a question in my response back to them. They have a question, they're going to answer back to you. You can open a dialogue and then get them pulled in for that tour.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I love tips that are actionable, that you can go back and implement right away versus follow your heart, or which is also important but not as actionable. So thank you. Rebecca, 60% increase in revenue. I have to leave with that. That's insane. Can you share your secret, or if you can't share your secret, just like what was the process? Like how did you approach that? How what worked? What should we be doing?
Sure. Well, keep in mind that the increase is relative to where you started.
Yes.
So I guess, I came in at a time when things weren't working so well. And it became my personal mission to implement and see positive change. So that's incremental, that takes time, it doesn't happen overnight, but really, you just have to look at all the different aspects of what you do. And similar to what Barbara said, your leads are really important. And when I started, there was no system for even tracking the leads. So one of the first things I did was make sure that there was good lead tracking, that we were keeping tabs on, whose leads were coming in, where they were coming from, what they were asking for, whether they were followed up on, whether they booked, when did they book. All those things are important. HoneyBook's products are really great at that. But we started all aspects, analyzing. We need data. You need to look at trends, and you need to say, where are we at and where are we trying to go? I looked at the tools that we had to showcase our venue to the clients, and I said, how can these be improved? We needed way better visuals. We needed social media. There was nothing happening really well at that time. It was an onslaught, we had to be out there more, and we had to be doing more. I completely revised the pricing of the venue. Information, clients weren't getting enough. It wasn't engaging. So it felt, it's not just enough to put your stuff out there and sprinkle some pixie dust on it and say, okay. You really have to dig, and you really have to set goals, and you really have to figure out what's happening with your business and what's not working. And a lot of times it feels like, I don't want to focus on the negative. But the negative is really where you pick out those jewels that are going to become your positive as you start to spin them. So looking hard at what's not working is really important. So those are some of the things that that we did to turn that around. And I can't say that I could have predicted, that it was going to be as impactful as it was. And we just keep trying to move forward. Each year it may not be as big a leap, but that's to me a sign that we're doing things better. We're getting closer to our ideal. We're starting to hit our goals closer and more accurately because we're getting better at figuring out where we should be at the end of the year instead of just close my eyes and throw, the dart. It's really start to learn the rhythm of what you're doing and get better at predicting what your potential is. Really.
I love that. So you've actually forecasted. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Yuta. So Barbara was just talking about the millennial couple, right? And that brings a lot of questions because we heard a lot of things about millennials that may or may not be true, like instant gratification and what they want. So can you tell us from your experience working with so many millennial leads at Wedding Spot, who is the millennial couple and what are they looking for when they search for a wedding venue?
All right, sure. So I'll share some data. Wedding Spot sees millions and millions of couples every year come to the site. One thing is age. Let's really define, are they really millennials? And so when you look at the breakdown of ages of the couples that come to Wedding Spot, almost 60% are indeed millennials, 18 to 34, which is what you'd expect. Funny thing is when you look at the other edge of the spectrum, the 55 and older, you get about 15% of the traffic, of the users that we're seeing. And I guess you all know those, right? The mother of the bride. Another interesting thing is gender. And we see this in our industry, that it changes. And if we look 2 years back, just 2 years back, men made up about 22% of our traffic. And today they're about 26%. So over 2 years, that's 20%, almost 20% increase. That's quite phenomenal. I see the heads nodding, and you're seeing this as well. But it's the world changing. And I mean, we've changed along with it. We used to call our users brides. We don't do that anymore. Today they're called couples. It's the right thing to do. It's the accurate thing to do. Last thing I'll share is that we all hear about mobile versus web, and you have to be mobile friendly, and mobile is everything. And it's true, mobile is growing stronger and stronger, and more couples are using their phones versus their laptop or their desktop. But we're still seeing more than 40% of our traffic come from desktops. Okay, so don't ditch it just yet. And well, you asked how they're looking. So what we see more than anything else is wedding venues in. The couple gets engaged, they're all excited, they're scared, they don't know where to start looking. That's how they start. Google, obviously. Wedding venues in San Francisco, California, Miami.
Thank you. So now we're getting into how do we put ourselves in front of the millennial couple, right? And Rebecca, you mentioned social media, how it was a dead channel and then you came in and made it happen. So just a quick raise of hands, how many people here are using social media to grow your business? Okay, really cool. So Gila, you are pretty social media savvy. You are pretty much crushing it. So what are some of the tips that you have for the audience in making the most, like maximizing these? Specifically, we know social media is pretty good at getting brand awareness, but like how do you convert that into actual customers?
Really good question. Does anyone have an answer? So yeah, I mean, everything what I do is extremely visual, and it's a lot of it is based on emotion, and I think that you find that at least I'm better at visual. I'm not as good with my words, so it's important to convey that. And so for me, what I did was 2 years ago, I just started to really hone in on Instagram and curating that just for my business. I kind of just stopped putting effort into Pinterest, and I don't even know if I have a Twitter account anymore, and Facebook, I just maybe every once in a while when I get featured would post something, but I actually realized a week ago that I hadn't been on my Facebook business page for like over 6 months. So I think it's important to know where your customers are. And for me, it was clear that that was Instagram. So I started to curate my Instagram feed, which I mean, by that I mean it visually flows. It also is conveying the message I want to put out there, the type of work I do. I remember really early on being told, you know, getting published isn't necessarily, just getting published isn't necessarily good. You want to really be careful about what's out there. And I kind of was like, oh, whatever, I just want to be, you know, published. And there are some things out there that I would love to take down. They're just not it's not what I do as a designer, but you know, we all have to start somewhere. So, and of course, I'm very proud to have gone that at the time. But it's similar, like on your Instagram, just really curating what you're putting out there, making sure it flows. So you have to even think about color flow and how, you know, and different photography. So, I mean, to the point of even being very specific about the photographers, and if that means I have to bring in my own photographer to shoot my work, just for my branding, I do. I started doing that a year and a half ago, and I'm seeing a huge return on that investment. People find me on Instagram all the time now, and it is really the best place to go to see my work that's current. I did just refresh my portfolio, but if you want to see something, there's stuff that I can't, you know, put out yet or whatever. So it's, I think, the best place to showcase your current work and what you're really proud of. And the concept of engaging with your clients, and you can engage with people there and have that interaction, which builds, I think, more trust, which is really important in this industry.
Super good. Thank you so much. Yeah. Awesome. So, okay, so that goes for social media. Barbara, you handle marketing, all of marketing. So, can you tell us about what channels you're currently using for your growth? And then from those channels, what's working, what's not, and how do you decide how much to spend on each? I know that's a lot of questions, but
Marketing in our office is the biggest fight. I want to spend more, the owners do not. Okay? Really going to be honest there. We're seeing our biggest returns right now, Wedding Spot, Wedding Wire, and our personal website. Those are where our leads are coming from. We're not seeing much of a return on some of the other printed ads that we put out. So we're going to discontinue some of them. It's all internet. I'll be really honest, that's where you have to be. We're going to continue to do a couple of local newspapers that do Valentine's Day in one of the local communities. Right after Valentine's Day, they do a Bride's Day Out showcase. We're going to participate in that just because we're a local business. Bridal fairs, we don't do bridal fairs. They're not worth the money for the return. Okay, we spend more money. You have to realize we're out in far eastern Contra Costa. For us to come in and do a 2-day bridal fair, that's hotel rooms. And if you looked at hotel room prices around here, okay. So it's a big investment for us.
Honestly, cut out. I'm loud. I'm very loud. We stick with that. What was some of the other question?
and then how do you decide how much to spend on each channel?
That's hard. Wedding Spot and Wedding Wire is an automatic renewal. Whatever they come out with us, we'll try to negotiate it down a little bit. Those are automatically renewed, so those are automatically budgeted every year. The rest of it, they kind of give me a little, okay, you can spend this much money, and then I figure out where it needs to go based on what's happening. Right now, there's quite a bit of money sitting there because I haven't seen anything that I want to use it on. Okay, Bride's Day Out, I think I'm up to $250. Or in somebody else's shop, I don't have to do any decorating, I don't have to do any tables, linens, anything like that.
Okay.
It's just printouts. But honestly, that's about how we market. And it comes in from the website, and that's where the fight is. I want to do our website, redo it professionally, and I will honestly admit, There's been some yelling in the office over it. They've gotten some estimates, and it's like, you're crazy. No, that is our next step, and that has to be done and done professionally.
So reinvest in the channels that are actually bringing you leads. Bottom line, just
Go in,
fight for it. Yeah.
update your wedding spot, update your wedding wire, and don't do that once a year. Do that every couple of months. You have a few weddings, you've got some great pictures, get them up there. And make sure they're different. Don't keep posting the same type of wedding.
We do country chic. Next week we do country chic. Don't put that one out there. Find another one.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yay. That's good lung power too.
You can tell I work at an outdoor venue.
Rebecca, so we've talked about social media and other marketing channels. I'm really curious, getting published as best of, is this a good marketing channel? And then also, how do you do that? What does the process look like to get chosen? And maybe.
I had nothing to do with it. So yeah, there are several publications out in the Tri-Valley area, they call it, which is sort of the Walnut Creek metro area. Walnut Creek Magazine is one of them. Diablo Magazine is another. They both do readers polls annually, where, you know, similar to the Guardian's, you know, best of, or East Bay Express is best of. So the users, the readers, the public votes on that, and we were lucky enough this year to be chosen. So that was a surprise marketing tool for us, and really I would say I don't necessarily think that has a whole lot to do with our success or our future. I feel like the couples who are looking for what we have, if we're doing everything right, are going to find us regardless of whether we got voted best of, Walnut Creek wedding venues. So I feel like what we have control over, and similar to what Barbara said, where you spend your marketing dollars and seeing what's working and really riding those channels is going to do a lot more to get you the attention that you need from the right people. You want those couples, those clients who are ripe, as they say. They are ready to receive your service because they have the idea, they know sort of where they're going and what they're looking for, and that happens when that couple, as Jonas said, gets on the internet and starts really pursuing, their search for your wedding service.
I love that. Thank you so much. So, okay, so now we're getting into the couple searching for you, right? And you optimize venue advertisings every single day. So can you tell us some secrets or hacks, or what should we be focusing on when we advertise to the millennial couple to stand out?
I will just say one thing about the awards, because it's interesting that you brought this up. With Wedding Spot, we have our awards, and we tested the efficiency of those. Is it just because the venue is good and they perform better, or is it also the actual award? We're actually seeing 9% increase in conversions to actually couples reaching out for venues with the award, or for the same venues without the labeling of the awards. So it really does matter. We put a lot of effort. But to your question about, we're talking a lot about the millennial couple, right? And the attention span. And you've got a millisecond to have them actually like your venue and reach out. So how do we get that? And there are two things you got to do there. And I love that it's been brought up here already. You guys told my answer. One is visuals. It's about, we always heard about you need good photos. Well, guess what? It's not enough. Good photos are not enough. You need good photos that show why you're unique, right? If you randomly look at some wedding listings, sometimes you'll just get a picture of a couple. That's not good enough. There are couples in every wedding venue, right? So bring out your special, unique characters of your venue. Again, it's a split second, right? They're on a results page. They have to click into your venue. Make it count. The second is about pricing. And you related to that. Pricing and transparency. Transparency for your couples is trustworthiness. Okay? And again, you have a split second, you want them to see that you're pretty much in their budget range. You want them to click through. So these are the two things that I would say you've got to do. A good photo of your special stuff and your pricing.
Thank you. Okay, so once we capture their attention, right, let's just say that they just inquired, let's talk about lead management, right? And Barbara mentioned one thing that really stuck with me, and it's that they want it now, right? Like we've all heard about the millennials and instant gratification, like it's true, period, right? How does that work? And I would love to hear from all of you, like, how do you take that into consideration when you're replying to your leads or managing your leads? And Barbara started already by saying, hey, we make sure that they get their answer right now. Like, what else are you doing? Or how are you doing that?
Yeah, so I do think that it's nice, whether or not you can have a full response, it's good to, for them to hear from you within a manageable time frame.
What is manageable?
Well, there's also this idea like we have to create some boundaries. Like I have 2 kids, like, you know, it's a lot. I actually, through the consultation process, like try to build in my boundaries. In a very, I mean, I'm there for them. I will take calls on the weekend, obviously. I mean, it's midnight. It's part of the job, but there has to be some level, like, I did step outside of my family's like holiday, Christmas thing, to have a 1-hour phone call. You know, we do those things, but we can't set those expectations for another year with that person. So I try to, I think within 24 to 48 hours, and that, I guess that comes from my marketing background, but that's what but I try to do within the first inquiry within 24 hours. But part of my process, thanks to HoneyBook, is I have the form on my site, and so it asks them questions right off the bat that if they answer them, I already can know if they're going to be, generally if they're a good fit or not. So my first response is, I have 2. One is, let's get on a call, try to say something personal, ask a question, and set up a phone call. Or the other one is, if I don't feel like they would be a match, because I only do full service, so I'll get a lot of month of or partial inquiries. If I think the partial could be converted to a full, I will still jump on a call. But if it's very clear it's like a day of month of thing, I respond and I still try to help, because you never know if they have a good experience with me and their friend is looking for full service, they might refer. So I explain what I do and I say, if that doesn't sound like a good fit, which I pretty much already know it is, but here's some recommendations. So I try to steer them in the right direction. But I do think that immediate response. So that's what I do, but just getting on the phone or in person as soon as possible is, I think, my approach once that lead comes in.
Okay, well, I just have a husband to take care of. He's retired. Okay? That's why I can jump on the internet as much as I want. Okay. Lead management is a real important thing from the venue point of view, because if we don't get the booking, we lost the business, and it's something you've got to grab as fast as you can. There's a lot of great venues out there. So I always like to, as soon as it comes in, at least respond to it. I do have a template that I send out if they didn't give me any information, except for wedding spot. Wedding spot, I always look to see if they did a spot estimate. That is very important because it tells me, your words, is this worth my time? Okay? If they've got 200 people and they're looking for a venue that's only going to cost them $10,000, we are not the venue for you. Okay? And so I try to direct them where they need to go. I find the spot estimates and the, what did you guys put in there where I can go in and see how many venues they contact? The lead insights is huge. If I'm the only venue that they have contacted, that is a client that is definitely interested in Brownstone Gardens, and I want to talk to them. If they contacted 15 venues, okay, they're shopping, give them my standard answer. So each lead is evaluated differently and gets kind of a different response. It's a gut feel, to be really honest, when you're looking at it or you're looking at the questions. So most of the inquiries come in with questions. you kind of go, yeah, this is a good one, let's get on it. I even started going back in and looking at the spot estimates. We get that report, did they contact the venue, yes or no? I've been looking at those and reaching out to some of those people that did a spot estimate. Hey, I see you did a spot estimate, but you didn't contact the venue. Is there something I can help you with? Am I outside the price range? We have other options. I've actually booked two.
That's something that our venue is definitely gonna start doing. We've been taking a look at those missed leads, you could call them, or the people who sort of started and then stopped the process and didn't contact you. And we've made a goal for 2019 to start looking more closely at those people, the big list of folks that you didn't actually get an email from, but who were somewhat interested in your venue and targeting. But leads for our venue, we get over 1,500 leads a year. And out of that 1,500, we on average give about 400 tours of the venue to clients. So, that percentage of the general leads are interested enough to come for a visit. And of that about 400, tours that we give, we're booking about 40% of the actual tour visits. So, we are certainly able to make the best of our tours. And not every lead obviously is going to be for you for a lot of reasons. I was just talking to another gal before the panel started and just, talking about how sometimes I'll get through an entire tour and I've said a whole myriad of things about our venue, and then there's one detail that I say 25 minutes into the tour, and that's it. That's the breaking point. And I can't go any further. It's just not going to work for them. And that happens. Volume of leads is really important. You want to keep reaching and you want to keep searching. An interesting thing for us too about leads is in the last 3 years, we've seen a 40% increase in the frequency or in the channel of leads. It's online. 40% increase in where the leads are coming from. They are now 91% online based. So bye-bye telephone, bye-bye walking in, and that's email or a direct, email generated by a wedding search website like Wedding Spot, or we have an inquiry form directly on our website too, where a lot of times people start on Wedding Spot and then they jump to our website, and then the inquiry actually comes from our website. But we give joint credit. We give credit to Wedding Spot, for sending it to us, and then it comes from our site. So online is huge, and responding to, we kind of follow a similar pattern of no more than 24 hours from the time the lead comes in. And yes, I'm on, in my bed at 11 o'clock responding to leads, and I know I shouldn't, but I just can't help it because I don't want to let it go, and if they're on there at that time, it's important enough to them, and they will appreciate that someone has got back to them. So response time is super crucial, and we also have sort of a rough template for our responses to these leads. We try to personalize it. As I'm sure you know, personalization at this point in the market of our clients in this business is huge. They don't like generic responses. So start with your template and then sweeten it up with, personal remarks. Read what they say, talk specifically, answer their questions directly, and you will get a much, better response back from them.
I'll share a little story. I went to visit a venue in New York a couple months back. And this lady, she owns the place, she runs it, she does sales, she does marketing, she manages the events themselves, she does it all. Now, where does it hurt her? In response time. And I was talking to her, she's showing me around the venue, beautiful venue. And she tells me, sometimes these leads, they don't get back to me. And I asked her, okay, what's your lead response time? She told me, when it's busy, when there are a lot of events, when I had to manage the dinner last night, sometimes it's 2-3 days. And well, that's the answer, right? And I'm actually going to say, you guys are the pros, I'm the outsider, but I would challenge it a bit and say 24 hours is probably not good enough with today's couple. Amazon Prime, right, started at 2 days. killed the market, and now it's Monday. 2 days is no longer good enough. There's this magic number about 5 minutes, or the data point about you have to be the first one to respond because most people will go the first one they respond. I'm not talking about, you talked about 50 reached out. Don't worry about those ones. But if your couple reached out to 3 or 4 venues, and you're going, like, they're going to go with the one who's going to respond quickest, right? Who's going to start the conversation. I love what you said about the question. It's all about creating that conversation. And what I'd like to suggest is have some sort of automation. And then there's a challenge there. How do you personalize and automate at the same time? How do you do that? Whatever your platform is, if it's Honeybook, has some tools, or whatever, find a balance. Automate so you can get in front of them real quick and follow up personally as soon as you can.
Thank you.
To that point, if it's a strong lead, I'm like on my phone. So I don't let it go, 24 hours. I'm like, oh, I think this is it. So I'm like, and I will get those responses like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And they're just like, they're not doing, whether or not we'll, but it does make a difference.
I love that.
Okay, so let's talk about 2 big trends that y'all mentioned, segmenting and using data to make business decisions, and then we'll open it to the audience. And then also for the record, if you're not, like, segmenting means dividing your leads so that you can give them a personalized message that's very timely with what they want to hear at that moment in time. And data, I mean, using data to make business decisions is pretty obvious, but if you're not segmenting and you're not using data, then you're missing out on 2 really big trends that are going to change your business. So I can either pass it around, or Barbara and Rebecca, both of you talked about it. So if you have something to add, feel free. If not, really just put them on the spot. But I'd love to hear about these 2 trends and specifically what you're doing about them and what tools are you using to segment and to bring data into your business decisions.
It's a hard one, I know.
Well, I will preface this by saying that our venue is a nonprofit organization, and we don't have a lot of resources and fancy bells and whistles, so we still do a lot of things the old-fashioned way. But it works for us now. So we don't have a lot of cool apps and programs and software to kind of give us insights, but I use spreadsheets a lot. I use Google Docs, and we look at the data that WeddingSpot gives us. We look at demographics. I did a really interesting study for my annual book report this year. The batteries are going to die again. On diversity of our wedding couples, and we started realizing that we were seeing some really obvious trends that were saying that our couples, ethnically, racially, culturally, are much different than they were 5 years ago. And that is going to start some conversations about how we market our venue, and who we put in our pictures and what people see when they come to our venue. I reach out to photographers of my couples who represent, diverse families, and make sure that when I show tours, I'm showing a really wide range of clients. I'm showing same-sex couples. I'm showing so that people can relate to our venue and really see themselves in what we're doing. So I think looking at your data and just being creative about how you can think about who you're serving and who's interested in you and who you're interested in reaching. So to me, data is huge. I love analyzing trends and looking at things. Sometimes I do it and I feel like there was no reason for me to do it other than it was fun. But yes, get dirty with your data.
Love it.
Yeah, I've been known to spend many hours just down the rabbit hole. To me, when I look at our data and how we use that, it's about having multiple sources from which to bring it. And we use different platforms to look at our data. And I told you about the millions of couples, and so this is really big data that we're dealing with to to analyze these trends and how, which venues are couples clicking on, what are they searching for. But it's always just part of the picture. And the other part is actually talking to people. That's why I'm so happy that you guys are here, so I can hear what you guys say and what you guys say when we talk. And also the couples, right? What do you need, but what do the couples need? And that's where we facilitate it. But so the data is one piece of it, but then it's also, hey, make sure that everybody can say, hey, everybody in the Wedding Spot company, hey, I just talked to a venue that said this. Oh, wow, I don't have all the answers. That's great. Read me more of this. And so, yeah, I love that I can spend hours and hours pouring through it, but the team knows. But you also have to bring in the human touch.
All right, I hope y'all are ready. Anyway, we're going to take some questions from the audience. You just raise your hand if you have a question. You might not have any
While they're
question.
thinking, I'm gonna say.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, my name is Dane. I'm with the Contemporary Jewish Museum. We are new to the wedding industry. We've only held one wedding at our site, which was a board member's wedding. So we are just entering the field. That's the reason for my presence. And my question is primarily directed towards Kayla. I took a peek at your Instagram feed, and I noticed the types of weddings and the venues that you selected. The museum is a Daniel Libeskind building. It's completely edgy and modern, white walls, cool angles. We think it's fun. We love being in it all day long, and our corporate clients love it. I showed a couple, one couple primarily that loved this space, and another couple pitched the question like, well, how do you do a ceremony in our space? So we staged it for weddings. But what do you see in terms of the trends leading towards, well, where do you see in the wedding market the place for a building that is as modern and edgy as the Contemporary Jewish Museum when we're looking at a lot of farm weddings and outdoor weddings and traditional classical architecture? Where do you see modern architecture playing a role in the future of weddings?
Well, so I'm really excited. I want to come visit and do a walkthrough because I actually think we're seeing, I always feel like I start to see things, but then it kind of takes a little bit to catch on. But I see a return toward things getting away from, I love an outdoor venue, but it's not about an outdoor venue. It's about, for me, the balance between like modern minimalism and natural, organic. So a space like that, amazing for me because I would bring in like plants and all this cool stuff to soften it. But that juxtaposition gets me excited as a designer. So I actually think you're in a great like moment, but people they can't visualize. So you have to do that for them. So, bringing in designers, event designers that you really like, that you think that could do something in the space to have a photo shoot. So you can put that out there and start to attract those clients. And when they come in, you see this is the type of thing. Or bringing in experts too and say, oh, you can do a ceremony here, or here's some flow ideas. Whenever I go into a venue, even if I've worked there before, I try to like come up with something different. And there's many factors like guest count and all that will dictate what you can do. But I think just start bringing in people that you want to work with, and they'll start giving you those ideas. And then if there's someone you want to collaborate with, see if that's a good. I think that's a good marketing opportunity because it's going to show your potential clients how they can use the space.
I think we have time for 2 more minutes. Okay, any other questions? Oh, yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda, I work at Wedding Spot, but I'm also getting married in September. So probably the biggest reason why I booked a lot of my vendors was because I felt really overwhelmed by the process. And you guys are the experts, so I want to hear what you guys have done to make the process less overwhelming for couples.
Well, I do everything for them. So, I hope that helps.
Don't break it.
So I try to, that is, I think actually as a planner, that's challenging because there's a lot of there's a lot of planners and they all say they do the same thing. So that's where finding like, oh, this is where I'm different, or this is where, that took a lot of time, and it's something I'm always going to be working on, because how do you communicate before they go through the experience and they're just not, deer in headlights part of it, and don't really know how much work it really is. It's hard to explain that, but I have tools, obviously, that work for me. And that's something I do try to explain, that what works for me, and just like with venue, what is your right client is not necessarily someone else's right client. Or some venues, or even and some designers, their thing is about range and doing all these different looks and all these different styles. I definitely have all different clients, but there is a thread in my design. So there's something, some lean more modern and edgy, some lean more rustic and outdoors, but there's still this thread just as a designer that I can't help but have. I do just kind of take over the whole process I use, and they have to buy into my process for it to work. So there has to be that trust. If you don't trust as a client, if they don't trust their vendors, it's going to be painful no matter how good the vendors are. So I think that's kind of the bottom line of like, that's where making it. So as a venue, you want your client needs to trust you and kind of buy into your process, I would think as well.
Okay, I do function as a month coordinator, hold hands through the whole process, whatever they need. Brownstone includes a coordinator with every wedding package. I'm the junior with 9 years. The other two have more time than I do. When it comes to the questions, I'm looking for a DJ. My first question is, what do you envision the DJ doing for you? Is he just going to sit there and play music? Is he going to MC? Is he going to interact with the guests? What do you want that person to do? And then I have some preferred DJs that I work with. I know which one would fit their needs. Photographers. Photographers are huge. There's a lot of great photographers out of there. I see them from all over the area. Again, the question is, what's your budget? What are you looking for? How long do you want them? Do you want that package of video and photography? Are you looking just for a photographer? Then why don't you go look at these guys? Here's some of their work. And you say, oh, my computer is full of pictures. I can pull up different pictures and show them. We have a lot of great spots to take pictures on the venue. So, I probably got 3 or 4 folders on my computer full of pictures. Okay. You just have to talk to them, find out what they need, where they're going, and then as you get experience, you'll know, hey, you're a great fit for Terry at Magic Entertainment. Why don't you give Terry a call?
How we make the process easier for our clients is hard for us because we are kind of more of a DIY than you. We have limited resources, and so we can only go so far with the client, and that's really where we lean on our vendor partners. And that's why partner relationships with vendors is so important. Whatever your industry is, you wanna have people that you're connected to, that you hook into in order to present the whole wedding. And as I'm sure you probably know already, those relationships are really important. So when our couple comes to us and we say, well, here's what we can cover, but you've got all this other stuff over here that you kind of have to handle on your own. They're gonna call some experts to help them, and our job is to help refer them to those experts. But as both these gals mentioned already, and Yona mentioned also, building trust with your client is the most important thing. And so making sure that you understand what the client's goals are and what they're aiming for and what they are or are not willing to take on. And I have lots of couples who, have type A personalities, walk in with their laptops and, they're multitasking and tracking everything on their own. And I know that that couple doesn't need a whole lot of handholding or guidance necessarily. And then I have other couples where it's the deer in the headlights look. And you know that you need to lead them more, you need to ask more questions, and you need to point them in a lot of different directions, whether it's selecting a vendor or deciding where they want their head table to go, or all those things. So you figure out, how far you can go, and then once you kind of hit that point, then you figure out how to utilize, to leverage those relationships you have with your partners in order to get them the rest of the way.
What I'll say about the wedding spot perspective is, and you guys know this, when couples get engaged, they're scared. They're very excited, but they don't know what's ahead of them. They're scared, they're stressed out, they're confused, they don't know what to look for, what it's going to cost them. Obviously, they think it's going to cost them less than what it's going to cost them. So our role on Wedding Spot is to help them focus and show them just what they need. And what they need right now is a venue. So that's why we're focused solely on venues, and that's why we make it as easy, and we constantly iterate, we constantly change design according to our research to see how do we make it as easy for them to get to find a venue that they like, that fits them, and take the next leap to actually reach out.
Thank you so much. All right, well, with that, thank you so much. That was amazing. Super insightful. And also, thank you all for coming. It's raining. It's super cold outside. It's probably not easy to get out of the house and make it here. But I know that y'all came here because there's something that you wanted to learn specifically about the trends in the wedding space. So I know that not everyone was super excited about asking questions live, but don't be shy. Afterwards, just grab our panelists and ask direct. Make it worth coming all the way here. So thank you so much, everyone.
No, you did a great job. Thank you. It's like file.